So we have already discussed about the objects of Satipatthana, body, feeling, consciousness, and dhammas, natural phenomena. Okay? We have also discussed the Satipatthana instruction, okay? Which is basically the method of noting with mindfulness, noting the Satipatthana objects with mindfulness in order to develop this clear comprehension. So especially the clear comprehension consisting of Vipassanā Insight, the insight knowledge that discerns clearly nature of impermanent suffering, non-self. The insight that leads to liberation from dukkha. And we have also discussed about the Anika Samadhi, which is necessary for the development of Vipassana insight. So today we are written to uh, discuss about objects in relation to the development of insight. So we have talked about the four Satipatthana objects. So in these four objects, as we have mentioned before, basically, in essence, they are just nama rupa, mental physical nature. And so the kaya, the body, refers to this, the collection of the four primary elements, primary physical elements, which can be discerned in every parts of our body. So, like the earth element, nature is hardness, softness, roughness, smoothness. So these are physical nature. So they are rupa dhamma. The fire element, heat and cold. These are also physical nature. So wind element, nature of support, pressure, tightness, tension, movement, vibration. These are also physical nature. Water element, nature of holding together, binding together, or dispersing, spreading out, flowing. These are also physical nature. Okay? Then the second Satipatthana object is Vedana. Vedana is a nature of experience, experience of pleasantness, of unpleasantness, of neutralness. This is mental nature. Experience is a mental nature. And chitta is the nature of knowing. This is also mental nature. Then Dhamma. Dhamma means natural phenomena, referring to various mental physical nature. So essentially, the four Satipatthana objects, they are just nama rupa dhamma, mental physical nature. And so, and these are the objects that we note in our practice. So why do we note them? We note them in order to develop clear insight into nature of impermanent suffering, non-self. Because what is it that is impermanent suffering, non-self? It's this mental physical nature. So in the suttas, whenever Buddha talk about impermanent suffering, non-self, it's referring to what referring to five aggregates, six sense bases, 18 elements, and so on. Okay? So essentially, these are just mental physical nature. Okay? So we note this mental physical nature in order to develop clear insight into nature of impermanent suffering, non-suffering. So in practical meditative experience, this nama rupa, the experience as this bare physical or mental qualities or bare physical mental nature, okay, that are present in each moment of sense experiences. Okay? So, so nature, bare physical nature, such as we mentioned just now, hardness, stiffness, tightness, heat, and so on. Okay? Or bare mental nature, nature of knowing, feeling, intention, attention, and so on. Okay? And so this bare mental physical nature, they are called Sabbhava Lakkhana. Okay? So which means natural characteristic. Okay? Or sometimes uh, they are called unique characteristic. Okay? Mm. So in our practice, we are supposed to bring our mind to discern this bare mental physical nature. Okay? So, but uh, we cannot discern this right from the beginning. Okay? So, especially beginners, you don't even know or have any idea what is mental physical nature. Okay? Mm. So, mm, so you come in, usually you only know one thing, concept, because all your life you live in the world of concepts. Okay? So therefore, the basic instruction and start off, it asks the yogi to note concepts, concepts which are already familiar to the yogis. So we instruct you to note yeah, rising, falling. So when you breathe in, the abdomen rises. Yeah. When you breathe out, the abdomen falls. Okay? So this is something already you're already familiar with, right? You're already familiar. There's abdomen. Hmm? You're already familiar. What is rising, what is falling. Okay? So walking meditation asks you to observe the footstep. You're already familiar with the footstep. So when you say when a foot leave, you not leave. You know what is it? What does it mean? The foot leave. You know what does it mean? The foot move forward, or it places down. Okay? So they ask you to not straight away the reality. You know the earth element, fire element, and so on. You get confused. Okay? So you start you off with noting of concepts like rising, falling, like lifting, pushing, placing, like the abdomen or the foot. Mhm. Mm. So you start by noting these very simple concepts. Rising, falling, rising, falling. And place your attention at the abdomen or the chest, wherever you feel the rising, falling clearly. And then you patiently work to apply the basic method of noting. Okay? To note this, note the rising, falling, and so on. Okay? So what is the basic method of noting? Mm. Satipatthana method. Anupassana. It's a continuous, precise noting moment to moment with ardent energetic effort. Okay? So you work, with effort, ardent effort to apply this basic method of noting. You note continuously, rising, falling. Okay? Note in order to develop this continuous uh, mindful noting, so that uh, gradually you build up uh, into Kanika Samadhi. Mm. Now, so gradually, as the Kanika Samadhi develop, the mind becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. So in the beginning, when you not rising, falling, the mind goes to the concept, to the form and shape of the abdomen, or to the direction of its movement, up and down, left or right, or to the manner of movement, it's fast, it's slow, it's long, it's short. All these are concepts. Mm. Mm. So, mm, as the samadhi develops, the mind gets more and clearer and clearer. It becomes more and more refined, sensitive. It begins to pick the physical qualities behind this rising and falling. Starts to appear more and more clearly to the noting mind. So it begins to pick up qualities like pushing, or tightness, or loosening, or softness. So it begins to appear uh, clearly. Earlier, the mind, although actually you can s- feel all this physical sensation, but in the beginning, the mind usually goes to what it is familiar with, which is the concept, the form and shape of the abdomen, its manner of movement, and so on. Okay? Mm. So, but as the concentration develops, the mind begin to pick up quite naturally uh, the physical qualities behind the rising falling. Okay? Mm. Mm. So you continue to know. uh, So when the physical qualities appear clearly, so you just allow the mind, you note it as it is. At first, what you see is concept. Okay, never mind, follow the concept. Okay, as the mind gets clearer and clearer, the physical nature appear more and more clearly. Then you pick it up, okay, and note it. Okay? Don't think, oh, this is not correct. I must go back to the form and shape and the manner of movement. Okay? Whenever anything appear clearly to the mind, take note of it. Okay? Mm. So as your practice develops, more and more things will appear clearly to the mind, which earlier is not clear. Okay? So you must not reject it. Okay? So that's why we say, note as it is, whatever appear, just accept it, note of it. Okay? So when physical nature appear, note it as it is. Okay? So you begin to notice physical nature. So you're not rising, begin to notice pushing. Yeah, pushing. Okay? At first, it's just one pushing. Uh, uh, but as the mind gets clearer and clearer, I notice that as it becomes more refined, like pushing. Okay? Mm. So, mm, then, as the mind gets clearer and clearer, at some point you begin to notice also mental nature. You're not pushing, you notice that there is uh, another quality, a mental quality that knows the pushing. Okay? Mm. Some yogis notice the mind noting, the quality of noting, taking note of the object. There is also a mental nature. Okay? So each time there's pushing, there's knowing of the pushing. And another pushing, knowing of the pushing. another pushing, and knowing another pushing. Okay? Mm. Yeah. And so as you continue noting like this, mind gets clearer, and then it can distinguish very clearly these two different nature. Okay? They are not mixed. The physical nature, pushing is one nature, the knowing is another nature. And so they are not mixed together. Okay? So yogi is able to distinguish them clearly, separately. Okay? So also the process, the moment to moment pushing, another pushing. So you can distinguish one pushing from another pushing, even though their nature is similar. But when your mind is clear, you can tell this pushing, the next one, another pushing is separate from the earlier one. Okay? They are not mixed together. It's a new one. Each pushing is a new pushing. Next pushing, another new one. Another new one. So separate. One from the other. The knowing that arises with each pushing also is a new knowing, separate from one another. Okay? Mhm. So as the yogi continuously note this Sabbhava Lakkhana, so we begin to discern clearly each mental nature, each physical nature is new and is separate from one another. Okay? Mm. So, and this, as you discern this more and more clearly, and gradually you begin to dispel the view that there is uh, uh, an unchanging, permanent entity that is present. Earlier, when your noting is not clear, you think that there is just one single abdomen continuously rising from beginning to the end. Yeah? And then you think that, oh, I'm here watching the rising movement. Okay? But when you can discern each mental nature, each physical nature that arises moment to moment, the process of mental physical nature, and you realize it's, there's no abdomen, there's just physical nature, one after another, moment to moment. There's no person who is watching, there's just the nature of knowing. huh? One knowing, another knowing, moment to moment. Okay? So, it's just, it's just momentary nature. huh? Dhamma, momentary Dhamma occurring continuously, one after another, okay? Each separate from the other. Okay? And each one, every moment is a new one, moment to moment. Mm. Mm. So those of you here who have some Dhamma knowledge, so you would know that what we have just described is the first insight knowledge. Nama Rupa Parichedanyana. So this is the clear knowledge that discerns clearly, sharply, clearly, separately each mental nature, each physical nature that arises moment to moment. Okay? So, uh, so this first insight knowledge uh, is a very important milestone in your so-called Vipassana journey. Okay? Just like when you go on a journey, like let's say you travel from here to Jakarta. So along the road, you see there's this milestone, right? You pass this stone, okay, 1 mile already. You pass another stone, or 2 mile, and so on. Right? So this Nama Rupa Parichedanyana, the knowledge that distinguish clearly each mental and physical nature. Okay? This is the first milestone, and it's a very important milestone in the Vipassana journey, the journey of development of insight. Okay? So when you come to this first insight, you have essentially arrived at the access door uh, to the realm of Vipassana or the world of Vipassana. Okay? So, and not only that, you have opened the door. You have reached the access door, you have opened the door. But you have not entered yet. You're not yet in the realm of Vipassana yet. Right? So you haven't really discerned clearly nature, impermanent suffering, non-self. Okay? You have seen nature one after another. Yeah, you know it's not the same, but you haven't really discerned impermanent nature yet. Okay? So you're not really into the world of Vipassana yet. Okay? But you have reached the access door and you have opened it. Okay? So all you need to do now is to enter, uh, courageously enter through it. Don't hold back. So take a step into it. So, mm, so this first insight is a very important foundation knowledge. Okay, so without this foundation knowledge, you cannot go beyond into the development of Vipassana insight. Okay? So you cannot skip it because uh, you want to develop insight into nature, impermanent suffering, non-self. First, you must discern clearly nature, nama rupa, right? Because it's this nama rupa that has the nature, impermanent suffering, non-self. So first, you must discern the nama rupa clearly. So this is what the first insight is all about. To discern clearly. uh, Every time you not discern clearly, clearly the mental nature, the physical nature that is present. So only when you can discern each mental nature, each physical nature clearly, then only with further development you can come to see clearly the nature of impermanent suffering non-self. Mhm. So once the first insight has been established, the second insight will follow soon closely behind. Okay? The second insight is Pachaya Parigahanyana, knowledge that discerns clearly cause and effect, uh, relationship between the mental physical nature. Okay? Mm, so first insight you discern every moment there's this mental nature, physical nature, again and again. You note, but as you note this continuously, as the mind gets clearer and clearer, mm, eventually and gradually you begin to discern clearly the cause and effect relationship. You realize that this mental physical nature, they are conditionally a reason. They do not arise without a cause. Okay? So, for example, you notice walking meditation because of intention as lifting. Okay? If there's no intention, there's no lifting. So because of intention, there's lifting. Because of intention, there's pushing forward. Yeah? Mm. So you notice even the process. You see there's intention and pushing, another intention and pushing further, another intention and push further. If right there, no more intention arise, the foot will just stop there. Unless you have another intention, intention to place down, then it start placing down. Okay? So it always arises when there is, only when there's cause. Without a cause, there's no effect. Okay? Mm. So only when there's object, there's knowing of the object. If there's no object, there's no knowing. Mm. So, so as you continue to note this sabhava nature clearly, this mental physical nature clearly, you begin to discern this cause and effect relationship. Mm. So now, once a yogi have been established in this first and second insight, so the yogi will have a very clear and basic appreciation of the Buddha's teaching on anatta, non-self. Okay? So now, so before you arrive at these two insights, you may have read about anatta from the books or from the Dhamma talk. Okay? So, uh, but and you may accept it out of faith in the Buddha. You accept it out of faith, but intellectually, you find it difficult to make sense of non-self. Why the Buddha keeps saying, and there's no self, there's no self. I'm here. Huh? So, so you always have this sense of a self that always exists, that exists independently of everything. A self that experience everything, yet is apart from everything, uh, experiencing everything else. Okay? Mm. But once you have experienced clearly the first two insights, then you have experienced clearly that there's no person, there's no self, there's no soul. There's just this mental, physical nature going on moment to moment. Just Dhamma, just nature that are conditionally arisen every moment. That does not arise independently. Mm. So you have a basic sense of appreciation of non-self. Okay? So then moving on from the second insight, right? Mm. So you continue to note, not what, not the sabhava, the mental physical nature. Continue to note moment to moment. It's still the same method. Okay? So actually you use the same satipatthana method of noting from beginning to the end of your practice. Okay? There's no special method. Okay? So anupassana. So you continue to note its mental physical nature. And as you do so, the nature, this mental physical nature also starts to become clearer and clearer. So as they become clearer and clearer, you begin to discern changes in this mental physical nature. They are not static. Okay, don't think that you see hardness. Okay, hardness happy already. Huh? Some yogis say lifting. I feel like pushing. I feel like pushing. Uh, So you don't feel any change because you're not watching carefully. And you watch carefully, moment to moment, lifting, and then you can see the change from one moment to another. Mm. So when your mind gets clearer and clearer, you begin to discern a change in this mental physical nature. Usually experience it as uh, intensifying and weakening of the nature. Hardness become harder, intensify, and then after some time weakening, become softer and softer, and so on. Okay, alright, tightness become tighter. Then after that, loosening. So, mm, uh, so you continue, note this way. So once you see the change and observe the change, moment to moment, observe the change. So as you keep noting the change continuously, there'll come a point when the mind is clear enough, sharp enough, then you begin to notice that with each mental nature, each physical nature that not, you notice it, that each nature it arises. It has a point where it arises. Prior to that, it's nowhere. Then suddenly it arises. It arises, and once it arises, it gradually, immediately, gradually diminishes, and then finally it vanishes, completely disappears. So every mental nature, physical nature that you know, it arises and then it gradually diminishes until finally disappear. Okay? Mm. Yeah. So this nature of change is always there with each mental nature, physical nature that arises always there. Okay? But in the earlier insight stages of insight, uh, even though it's there, because your mind is not clear enough, you did not notice it or you did not pay attention to it, so you don't realize the nature. Okay? So, but now, as you continue, it's because of continuous development, anupassana, you begin to notice it. Okay? So as you continue to note this change, you will notice that uh, each mental physical nature uh, arises and disappear, arises and disappear. Okay? Each one of them has a beginning uh, in arising, and then it ends with just disappearance. Okay? Completely disappear. It vanish completely. Okay? So just like this sound. Uh, you notice this sound? Now is that sound? No sound. Then suddenly appear. It comes. Then what happened? It disappear. Right? So each one has disappeared. And you watch carefully, it has a point of arising and then slowly diminishes and then vanish completely. Okay? So mm, this is called Sankata Lakkhana. Mm. This is conditioned nature. Okay? Mm. So all conditioned things has this nature uh, of arising and disappearing. Okay, it's conditioned. So when the condition are present, it arises. Okay, uh, so once it arises, it gradually change and disappear. Finally, okay. Mm. So, mm. So what is it that arises and disappear? It's sabhava, huh? Mental, physical nature that arises and disappear. Okay. Mm. So that's why first you have to discern clearly sabhava. So that's why you cannot skip the first insight. It's a foundation knowledge. First insight, you discern clearly mental, physical nature. And then only from there, as you continuously know, then the nature of arising and disappearing will start to appear clearly. Okay? Mm. So, so this is called Sankata Lakkhana. Mm. Mm. So from Sankata Lakkhana, you note continuously the process, mental, physical nature arising, disappearing, moment to moment. From there, you finally arrive at Samanya Lakkhana, universal characteristic, which is the nature of uh, anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanent, suffering, and non-self, the Vipassana insight itself. So we will talk about this in the next. Stop here today.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namaskara.